right, everybody, for this remote assignment, you're going to be practicing underpainting by drawing and shading a pumpkin with brown acrylic paint. So I'm going to demonstrate at the start how to just draw this shape. I know some of you are new to drawing. So I'm starting with the stem, and then I'm kind of radiating out from the center where that stem begins and curving my marks, almost like a parenthesis shape, up and around the pumpkin. And I'm looking at that image of the pumpkin when I draw. So keep that slide up. Actually, the image on the right at the beginning of the presentation has a nice image of a pumpkin that you can copy. And then the bottom is kind of curved as well. So something like that. Don't take too long on the drawing. I really want you guys to focus on practicing painting with acrylic paint for this assignment. All right, so now I'm getting my acrylic paint ready, and I mixed some darker browns using just straight brown. I mixed lighter browns using white. You remix often as you go. That's the cleanest my palette will look. So, all right, and then I'm starting with the highlights in the center of the bumps and also in the center of my stem. I'm using a small brush, and then I'm going in with a value that is a little bit darker than that white brown value. So it has a little more brown in it than white. And slowly, it's just like shading with pencil, you're getting darker and darker as you move out towards the outside of the bumps. I'm adding a little more brown. And acrylic paint, when it's wet, it blends really nicely. You just use the brush essentially to blend those values together. And whenever I'm demonstrating, it never comes out as good as when I'm doing it on my own. So at the end of this video, you'll kind of see the finished product, and then you'll see how to glaze color on top. Again, use it as an exercise. Obviously, try your best. The more work you put into these exercises, the better your final project will come out. But again, this is our first time really using acrylic paint, so it's going to take a little bit of practice before we all feel comfortable with it. All right, and then I'm mixing a darker brown. I'm adding a little bit of black into my brown. I'm using no white in the brown mixture. And I'm kind of putting these in right where that crevice is, right where it indents into the pumpkin. And this makes these bumps look like they're coming out at us. Makes them look more three-dimensional by having a full range of value on these pumpkins. A highlight in the middle and a shadow on the outside. So keep looking at that image of the pumpkin and shade yours as best as you can. So I would fast forward a little bit. I'm just going to remind myself of that. And we'll cut to kind of the next spot. Oh, I am going in right now and putting just a little bit of darker values, just a little more black and brown. Okay, so let's see. It takes time. I think we want it to be done right away when we're painting, and that's just not how painting works. It takes a little bit of time. I usually say this to my students, that at one point you hate your painting, and then it gets to the point where you start to like what you're seeing. That's just part of the process. It's not going to look like a finished product as soon as you begin. So be patient with it. I'm going in and putting some darker black-brown marks on the edges of my stem and on the indents of the pumpkin. Just continuing to rework what you've done. Add more and more detail. Kind of looking at that pumpkin photo as you work. All right, so now this is kind of the finished pumpkin, and I've gotten a little bit of yellow acrylic paint and a little bit of red, and I'm mixing to make a nice medium orange color. My brown underpainting has dried, so that's really important. You want to make sure it's completely dry when you do this step. And then I'm going to take that orange and I'm just going to do what's called glazing. I'm going to glaze the color right on top. Acrylic is essentially transparent in nature so that we will be able to see the values that are underneath this acrylic paint. We'll be able to see the brown shadows and highlights right underneath so that our orange pumpkin is now shaded and has a full range of value, which makes it look more three-dimensional. So you want to use a small to medium brush when you're doing this step. Kind of smooth out your marks. You don't need a whole lot of paint on your brush. And then I'm cleaning my brush, and I'm going to do, when you do your fruit paintings, you're going to decide on a background color. So I'm going to just glaze a blue right over that shadow in the background. And you can paint the whole paper. You can paint a little rectangle around it. I just do this messy like paint splotch around the entire pumpkin. This will give you an idea too of what colors you might want to use for your fruit painting for the background. I'm being really careful around the edges with my pumpkin. I'm trying to blend out some of those brush strokes. You can always use your small brush as you get close to the pumpkin too, so that you don't neatly around it. So that is pretty much it, you guys. Begin drawing in pencil the pumpkin, looking at the photograph. Shade it using a full range of value, using brown, black, and white with a small brush. And then let it dry. You can always use a blow dryer if you're trying to speed it up a little bit. And then glaze orange right over it. You have to mix the orange most likely with yellow and red. All right, good luck, you guys. Make sure you upload a good photo of your work and make sure that it's rotated the right direction.